My name is Jonathon Silverman. I work at Allied Bakery in Walthamstow. I'm a member of the Bakers' Food and Allied Workers Union. The first thing I wanted to say was just to explain that our sister union in the United States, 1,300 workers at Crystal Sugar, have been on strike. Well, it's actually a lockout, strike lockout, for nearly 4 months, 1,300. And at work, inevitably, because of the reign of terror that has wielded down against us, my co-workers felt obliged and enthused to gain a message of solidarity with the workers there. I wanted to appeal to people in this hall to do likewise. 1,300 workers, 4 months in the Midwest, you know what a winter's like in the Midwest. And if anybody's interested, I have literature from the Bakers Union, it's a sister union of ours in the United States, that you can get off me to get messages over there. I was going to spend more time on that until John McDonnell spoke, because I think in a certain sense he did the conference a big favor. He said really what it's useful for such a gathering to do is to assess the depth of the crisis and what needs to be done about it. Solidarity is evident. Without solidarity, we're nothing. And what he posed is he said we need a systemic change. The friend who just spoke before said he was a socialist. Well, I think the crisis is heading towards one of the, if not the deepest crises in the history of world capitalism. We ain't seen nothing yet. The crisis that's coming is going to vest upon working people the sort of devastation that took place in the 1930s. They do it in the name of democracy. Whether they go to war in Afghanistan, Iraq, they do it in the name of democracy. But really, it's the dictatorship of capital. It's the dictatorship and the logic of a system which heaps upon workers the burden of shouldering the effects of the crisis of the ruling class. And they use terror in order to do that. Warfare abroad, warfare at home, the killing of Mark Duggan. And there is only one way of dealing with the dictatorship of capital, and that is to overthrow it, and you can only overthrow it through revolutionary means. I come here as a communist. I make no apology for raising the political stakes. Working people today are not ready to run society. We're not. We can only become ready to run society if we engage in revolutionary struggle to transform the dog-eat-dog values that make us the people that we are into the sort of human solidarity that's at the heart of an alternative dictatorship, that of our class. That sort of revolutionary struggle needs a party, a new party, a communist organization, one that's steeped in communist continuity from the time of Lenin and the Bolsheviks to other revolutionary struggles for this day. That's the task that really has to be built in the course of the struggles. It's not revolutionaries who call revolutionary struggles into being. It's the capitalist class. It's them by forcing us to engage in struggle. That's why I want to pose another task, which I think is very important. It was announced at the end of the pre-lunch session, which is the need to defend 5 Cuban revolutionaries who are locked up in US jails and who have been locked up for the last 13 years. They're known as the Cuban Five. Sometimes people call them here the Miami Five. And there's a protest for their release outside the US Embassy on December 1st. What were they doing? They had infiltrated counter-revolutionary Cuban-American organizations in Florida, organizations that carry out bombings and other attacks on the Cuban Revolution, assassination attempts, and so on. They were falsely charged, framed up, with spying on the US government. The evidence against them was not presented in court because it was deemed too secret. So they had to defend themselves against secret evidence. They've spent 13 years in prison. For 2 of them, their wives are not allowed to be able to visit them because they're deemed a threat to the national security of the United States. One of them has just served his sentence and has been released, but he's not allowed to go back to Cuba for 3 years. He's on supervised release. He can't go back to his family. Others are faced with 2 life sentences. 3 of them, of these 5, were part of the 375,000 Cuban volunteers who wrote one of the most glorious pages of international working class solidarity when they went to Angola to resist the South African invasion and defeated it, without which apartheid would not have been ended in South Africa and Nelson Mandela would not have been unbanned. The imperialist rulers in the United States will never forget the Cubans for doing what we need to do here: engage in revolutionary struggle, overturn the dictatorship of proletariat, and establish the rule of working people. Thank you very much.